Okay, today we're going to do 3-sum problem. It's a continuation of the 2-sum and 2-sum 2. If you haven't done 2-sum 2, you should, because we're implementing essentially the same algorithm with a few extra steps. So let's look at the array. What we're going to do is first sort it. So just assume that we are given an array. We need to sort it first from lowest to highest. Depending on how that sort is implemented, is going to have a 0-1 space complexity. But either way, just know that please sort before we do anything. We're going to start here at -4, and what we want to do is then do a 2-pointer approach solution for the rest of these numbers. And what we're going to have is the first point, so we can do -4 plus -1 plus 2. That's going to give us -3, and that is low. So we want to continue moving the low end forward. So let's say -4. This is going to say the same thing, not what we want. And we're going to continue this process, and I can tell you right now, obviously, we're not going to add up to anything that gives us 0. So let's reset. We're going to move this over 1, and then we're going to have low set at -1 and high still at 2. So -1 plus -1 plus 2, that does equal 0. We want to write that down. We have found one of the 3-sum. All right, so now we have that. Let's move this in, and we know that we want to move this down. And we have now also found another set. So we can say -1, -1, and we're at -1, 0, and 1. So now we've found these two. So now we found these two sets. We want to reset. However, we're going to very quickly realize there's no other combination that works in this list. The reason why is if we were to then move to -1, we could get the same value. So we want to skip any value that is the same as its previous. So we go to 0. But as we know, if we're at 0, all numbers ahead of it are positive, which means there's no way we can equal 0. So we can confidently say these are the two sets that we expect to return. All right. So that was a fast way to walk. Okay, we've given the example above, but once again, we don't know that this is sorted. So let's first create a result. We know this result needs to be an array of int. And we do it like that. We can return results. That should keep everything from screaming at us. Okay, so now that we have that, all right. And the first thing we want to do is sort. So we're going to say sort ints, and we're going to do that for the numbers. And depending on what IDE you are using, it might import sort automatically for you upon saving. If it doesn't, just make sure you import sort above. Now that we have this, we want to do a few. All right, so now that we have that, let's start the loop. So for I, n, in range of nums, here we want to do two base. All right. So if n is greater than 0, we know that there's nothing else that we can add together to equal 0, so we can just break here. Now, in the case that if, all right, and also we want to do the case of when there are two numbers next to each other that are of the same value. So if I is greater than 0, so we always know we're not starting on the first item of the array. We can say n is equal to nums I plus 1. So if that condition is met, we just want to continue. We just want to skip over it. Okay, so now let's define the high and the low. So we say L and H. This equals I plus 1 and length of nums plus or minus 1. Now that we have this, we want to do a for loop, a for while loop, where low is less than high. All right, and from here, let's get the sum. So the sum is going to be n plus nums L plus nums high. And this is where we want to do the 2-pointer approach. So if sum is less than 0, we know we want L to increase. Else if sum is greater than 0, then we know we need to lower or decrement our higher number. Else, if neither of these conditions are met, we know that we have found one that does all three add up to 0, and we want to append that to our result. And after we've done that, we do want to, oh, I forgot one thing, L and decrement H. And from here, this is where we want to do one last check, and this is going to be on the lower variable. For L is less than H and nums L is equal to nums L minus I. L minus 1. So this is checking for the duplicates. We can say L plus plus. That way we're just not starting with the same number. And so we're not going to get the same output. Okay. And this should be it. This should be everything we need. I'll open up some tests that I have here just to show this is going to be the same value that we went through in the example we walked through. And we have a few other edge cases. So with that, let's run these tests and see if this works. I'm going to say go test. Oh, and it failed. Okay. Why did it fail? Oh, all right. And so the reason it failed actually is because of this. I wasn't looking for the last value. Oh, look, everyone makes mistakes. Okay. So now with that, let's run it. All right. And everything passed. All right, so that was a fast way to run through this. Just to reiterate, we're always going to want to sort the array. Then from there, we want to go through. There are two base conditions. If n is greater than 0, we know we want to break. Otherwise, if we are not on the first element and we know the previous number is equal to what we're currently looping through, we just want to continue because we don't want to have those duplicate. We don't want that number to be a duplicate. And then here is where we're going to do the two-pointer approach. That is the same as the two-sum-2 problem. We're going to go through as long as lower is less than high. We're going to have the sum here of adding all those elements, all those numbers together. In the case that the sum is less than 0, we want to increment the lower pointer. In the case that it is higher, we want to decrement the higher pointer. But in the case that it is equal to 0, that is a result set we want to append to our result array. And then we will increment the lower and decrement the higher. This way we can find any other matching values. But the last check we want to do here is just to make sure there are no duplicate values. And so very similar to what we're doing up 15 lines above, we want to do this check and we'll increment the lower in that case. All right, that was a fast way to run through this problem. Hopefully that was helpful. And if there are any problems you'd like me to do specifically, please leave a comment below and I'll get to them when I can. All right, peace.